Welcome Ada, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell and today I am doing a video I've been putting off for a long time. This is going to be a bookshelf tour. So, me and my husband redid our library a while ago, not a while ago, I should say like a few months ago, and we're not done yet. There is a part of it that's unfinished, just like a lot of our house. We have been remodeling it ourselves for ever. And so we're just, we're working at it. So he actually built these amazing bookshelves behind me. And so I'm not going to be doing a full library tour, but I am going to be showing you guys these bookshelves, everything I have, the books I have. I love watching bookshelf tours. It's just one of my favorite videos to watch. I think I'm going to hold off on the historical romance bookshelf tour and do that like in a separate video. Number one, because it's a kind of a mess over there, and number two, because I just think, I know like not all of you are interested in the historical romance collection. So I think I'm going to start out with this and then I'll do that in a separate video, which will be a fun time too. It'll be fun to like go through all my step backs and that'll just be a good time. So yeah, I'm not going to show you everything, but I am going to just basically go shelf by shelf and just go through what I have here. I own a lot of books that I haven't read. My TBR is ridiculous. For a while, I had my TBR on these shelves over here behind, like they're my old shelves. If you look at some of my older videos, you'll see me in front of some black and like wood shelves. And I did have my TBR over there, but then I moved it. I decided I wanted it all mixed in. I really prefer having everything organized by genre, so that's kind of what I did. Mostly, you guys will see where things are kind of mixed up a bit, but I'm going to go over my bookshelves with you, and also, I don't really know. This is my first time I've ever done a bookshelf tour, so I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, to be honest. But we're just going to do it, I guess. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you do so. All of my social media is linked down below in the description, including my Goodreads, my Instagram, and the Discord that I share with my good friend Maggie called The Hideaway. Okay, let's just go ahead and get into this bookshelf tour. Okay, so as you guys can see, I have everything kind of just started out with all of my Brandon Sanderson books. So it looks like my husband has like a D&D playbook handbook up there too. But I have all of the Stormlight Archive books up here except for the first one because I'm actually currently reading that. So I have Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, and Rhythm of War. The first three books I all have in paperback because that's just how we bought them. And then when it first came out, the Rhythm of War, it was in hardback. So we bought that in hardback. Eventually I'd like to have paperback and hardback of each of them. And then I have the Mistborn series right here, which my husband adored, and I did not. Elantris, which I haven't read yet, and Warbreaker, which I have, and it's one of my favorite Brandon Sanderson books. I'd like to have like a full size instead of just a mass market of that one, but that is what I have for now. And then we have the first two books in Robert Jordan's, what is that series called? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the series. I'll pop it up on the screen. And then I have the full Dragonbone Chair trilogy. I'm not sure of the name of this series either. I really want to read it. I think it might be Viking inspired as well. And I've heard the writing is absolutely lovely, and I'm a sucker for some nice prose. So I also really love these like covers for the series on The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time. There we go. I love these covers. I love that retro look. And then I have Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler, which I haven't read. The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. Have not read. The Son of the Storm by, who's this by? Sui Davies Okugawa. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that one, but I do want to read all of these. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't own them. So now moving down. Okay, let's just start over here. Okay, so here I have the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne. So Malice, Valor, Ruin, and Wrath. I've read all of these and absolutely adore them. I love these books. I would love to reread them. I want to read the follow-up trilogy as well. but I don't own that yet. I did try to start The Shadow of the Gods. This is his Viking inspired fantasy series, and it wasn't really fitting my mood at the time, but I do want to try again. I just basically soft DNF'd it. Oh, next I have a little, I don't know what you call that, like art plate, art piece, and that came with our box of special editions of Brandon Sanderson's like Year of Brandon Sanderson books, which I will show you guys later. I also have Daniel Abraham's first and second book in the Dagger and the Coin series. I've heard really good things about it, but haven't read. And then I have the first two books in Tasha Suri's Burning Kingdom series. I've read the first one, but I need to reread it. I tried to start this one and it just wasn't happening. Then I have The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi, which is like a pirate book by Shannon Chakraborty. I haven't read it, but I really liked the David Bad trilogy, which I have right here. Bringing you guys in a little bit closer. Sorry about that. Fake plant, but I've got a few more books that I'd like to read. Babel and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Then I have the first two books in Malazan, which I started. I read the first book. I want to reread and try again. I do. Then I have The Pariah by Anthony Ryan. I'm really interested in this one. So I'm really interested in this one. It just has the vibes that I feel like it reminds me a little bit of Joe Abercrombie's series that I read that I really liked. I don't know if it's going to have those vibes, but I feel like it might. Priory of the Orange Tree. I enjoyed this. I give it 4 stars. Day of Fallen Night, I haven't read yet, but it's the prequel. Bonechar Daughter, haven't read yet, but very interested in. Rage of Dragons, I don't know. I feel like, you guys can't see that. I feel like this one might be more of my husband's kind of book. I hear it's very action-packed. So then I have this series that I really want to start, but oh my goodness, it's long and intimidating. But this is the 12 Kings of Sharakai. So this one, it just seems like it's going to be a long series, but I am really interested in it. And I think I really like the covers of the series too. I also have right here one of my favorite books of all time, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is such a pretty edition. It has illustrations in it that are absolutely stunning. So, definitely a prized possession. Dragon Mage, which is a really good book. I guess it started out as a standalone, but it's supposed to be a series now. Another stunning cover. Highly recommend if you're into dragons. Then I have The Blade itself and you can't really see that here, it's light, but I've got The Mask of Mirrors by the writing duo M.A. Carrick. Really interested in reading that one. Sorry, it's gonna like if my face is in the screen, it's going to focus on me. So I've got a few more fantasy books that I'm kind of interested in. Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan, though I've heard some mixed things about her as an author in general. This is one of the first books that I got when I went to the local Second and Charles. I heard it's kind of, there's a series it's kind of similar to, I forgot. I think it's kind of about a thief, but I don't know. Then Hexologist, I got that more recently. Foundry Side, which I am less interested in because I know it's compared to Mistborn a lot, which I didn't love, but I'm keeping it because I think my husband might like it based on what I've heard. The Night Circus is one of my favorite books of all time. This is such a good book. It's a little bit beat up, as you guys can see. It happens easily when you have kids and your books are moving around a lot. Another all-time favorite, The Sword of Kaigen. Age of Assassins, I have not yet read, by R.J. Barker. Then I have a paperback that I got of Gardens of the Moon because I think that this might be a little bit easier to read than the hardcover edition I had. The words are still pretty small. That font is still pretty intense. Nine of Swords, I got this book from the author and I still need to read it. But it sounds really cool. I think it has like a magic school in it. A Touch of Light by Thiago Abdallah. I've heard amazing things about this whole series. Stardust Thief, Master of Sorrows, just more epic fantasy that I really want to read. Okay, and then I have to move that because that's gonna like mess up the focus. Okay. I have Tagana. Oh, I have Middle Game here by Sean McGuire. I've really enjoyed most everything I've read by her. Tagana by Gabriel Kay. I want to read a lot of books by him. This is not even the first one, but I've heard a lot of really good things about this one. But that just happened to be at my local Second and Charles, so I picked it up. So that will probably be the first book I read by him. This is the Dandelion Dynasty. I've read the first 2 books, really enjoyed them. I still need to read the second 2. Hopefully I can get to them before I forget what happened. R. Scott Baker, I've heard a lot of amazing things about him. And then I have my whole Robin Hobb collection right here. And a little house that I got at maybe Hobby Lobby. But it's just very fantasy-esque. And then one of my peg dolls. I make a lot of peg dolls. I give them to my kids. Some I have up here, but just depends on the time of year and what they're playing with. But they have other peg dolls at the moment that they are playing with. Okay, so the fantasy at this point starts to continue only on this side of the shelf. And on this side, we go into like horror and thriller more. So we've got the 5th season series by N.K. Jemisin. And then the Icewind Dale trilogy by R.A. Salvatore. I have another, I don't know why, but over here you'll see is the following trilogy, The Legends of Drizzt. So I think you're supposed to read Icewind Dale first. I've got these, the Grey Bastard series I picked up at a library book sale. I think that those will be good for my husband. And then Nomads of the Sea, I softy and upped it, but I'd like to try again. Emberblade I'd like to try. And then we start getting into some horror. Okay, so over here I have some just random horror. Dark Harvest I tried to read. I wasn't really big into. I don't know if I'm going to DNF it or like I don't know if I'm just going to get rid of it because it's just not my vibe. The cover is, but the authorial voice, not so much. Near the Bone, this is a really good horror. Loved this one. Okay, and then I've got some T. Kingfisher I've got The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. October Country, I keep saying I'm going to read, and I don't. Same with Jocular. Into the Drowning Deep, love this one. Dead Silence, this was okay. Some more books that I need to read. Diary of Blood, this is a really good one too. So is What Moves the Dead. Those were both like super solid 4.5 star horror books for me. Right here I have Neverwhere. So I'll get to that because it's not where I had that. Comfort Me with Apples, also solid 4-star read. Best Friend's Exorcism, solid 4-star read. And then I've got my Darcy Coates. So The Carrow Haunt, 5 stars. Really enjoyed this whole series. It starts with Voices in the Snow, and it's a post-apocalyptic series that's awesome. And then I really want to read Parasite, which is like a space horror. And then I keep Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman on display right here. This is another illustrated edition that is stunning. I just love Neil Gaiman's illustrated editions. I like how it's just kind of worked in around the pages. So yeah, love that. And I have that kind of with horror because it is a very horrific fantasy. Then I have more fantasy kind of tucked all into these 2 shelves right here. I've got Jade City, Lord of the Rings. I haven't read Jade City, but I'd love to. Another Neil Gaiman that I'd really like to get to is American Gods. I also have this a like really lovely book called God Killer that came out I think it was last year, and this cover is just stunning, just absolutely stunning. And then I have just like a whole bunch of mass market fantasy. A lot of it's like more classic, like the Arrows trilogy by Mercedes Lackey. I've got Janie Wirtz, Name of the Wind, Kushal's Dart, the first trilogy. Some of the Game of Thrones books, and just some random stuff. Just some random stuff. Okay, so over here is kind of all mixed up. So I've got Our Share of Night, which is a horror book that I'm really interested in. I'm not reading any horror right now because I got super triggered recently. I love Legacy Witches. It's like all the way at the bottom right here. But if you haven't read, this is like a cozy, if you imagine like a cozy mystery was a little bit more horrific. It's got trans rep in it as well. Small town vibes. It's just like super cozy, but it goes there more than like a regular cozy mystery. Our main character's a witch, and the witchy vibes are literally impeccable. I loved it. I loved it so much. And because I really like the whole cozy horror witch thing, I'm really interested in reading Cackle by Rachel Harrison. As well as Payback's a Witch. This I'm really interested in. This was also a gift. This was gifted to me by Kristen, I believe. So definitely very interested in this one. And then down here, I've got all of my thriller paperbacks and my cozy mystery paperbacks. Nothing too exciting, really. But a lot of books that I'm definitely interested in reading, some of which I have read, like I read The Woman in Cabin 10. That's probably being unhauled eventually. The Turn of the Key was a Ruth Ware that I really enjoyed. And I'm definitely really interested in reading Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murders and Shady Hollow. Over here in the corner, I have A Quiet Life in the Country, which is a book by T.E. Kinsley, a cozy mystery series that I really enjoyed. There's nothing like too fancy or special about it. It was just really cozy and easy to get through. And in the bottom here, I have a mess. This is all of our middle grade and a lot of books that I read to my kids, like their Elsa Beskow books and their Beatrix Potter books, Bramley Hedge. This is like, if you haven't read Bramley Hedge before, especially if you have kids, you should. Like it is like it's cottagecore to the max. If you're into cottagecore, like don't miss out because it's ultimate cottagecore vibes. It's about these little mice and they live in these trees and it's just really sweet. They're a little bit longer, so yeah. And then I have all of my middle grade in there too. Okay, up on the top shelf, I have some of my more special editions, like the Snow Queen, which has all these like really cool winter-y tales. It's a Barnes & Noble like special edition. And then I have my super special, most beloved book on my shelf is my Lord of the Rings book, which is in a dust jacket and is just really beloved by me. I actually saved up for this when I was a kid, then lost it in a divorce, and ended up getting it again, though much more expensive than when I first got it. But it was still worth it because this book is like, it means a lot to me. And then I just have some other special ones that I just think are like some cool collections to have on my shelves. Maybe the kids will read them one day too. I do have like the Little House series. I've got a Charles Dickens Christmas book, The Hobbit, A Treasury of Irish Folk Tales, Greek myths as the Iliad and the Odyssey and Homer, some mythology books. So yeah. And then we get into the fantasy romance. So then I've got probably 5 shelves, I think. 4 shelves? Yeah, 5 shelves of fantasy romance. And these are some books that are precious to me, some books that I'm hoping will be precious to me. So I've got my Sarah J. Maas books over here. Some of which I loved more than others. Over here I've got Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I have not yet read Iron Flame, but oops. I haven't read Iron Flame yet, but I'm definitely going to soon, I hope. Over here, I have the Serpent and the Wings of Night, and that whole series. I got the Indian edition hardcovers before they were gone. Over here, I have Ledge, which was gifted to me by Maggie. Thank you so much, Maggie. And I have Mistletoe. I love this cover so much. I wish I could get my hands on the other covers by Kimberly Lemming for these books. These original covers, I really like them a lot. Between Wrath and Mercy, one of my current favorite fantasy romance books. I need to read the sequel. And then I have oopsies. And then I have Entreat Me by Grace Draven. That's a really fun Beauty and the Beast retelling. And then I really would like to read Master of Crows by her and Radiance. Then I have Dragon's Bride and The Kraken's Sacrifice. I adore Dragon's Bride. The Kraken's Sacrifice was pretty awful, but the cover is gorgeous. So I'm not getting rid of these. Definitely, they're just cover buys. I'd like to have the whole set, but then I have Hole in the Soulless, another book that was gifted to me by Maggie. I loved the prequel, which I have somewhere around here. Where's the prequel? Oh, I have the prequel down here. So this is the prequel, Sven the Collector, and that was really good. So definitely need to pick up Hole in the Soulless. These are like Wyvern Riders, and it's like Norse inspired, and they're like barbarians. So say less. Dawn of Onyx, I started and I want to pick it back up. I softy enough to just timing situation. Blood Crown, another gift from Maggie. Maggie spoils me. And I hear this is spicy, she says. So when I'm in the mood for spice, I might pick that up, which, I mean, when am I not? But, you know. Now on this shelf, I have some books that I love. So I've got Bow Before the Elf Queen. I really enjoyed this, but I have to reread this so I can continue on with the series, because when I tried to pick up the second book for this series, it was just not happening. I need to reread the first book. Then I've got Traitor Witch. This is the first book in this series. And I adore it. This is a White Shoes series that is just probably my favorite it's probably my favorite White Shoes series of all time. It's a pirate romance series by Mary Mystery. It's slow burn, so be ready for that if you pick it up, but it's also absolutely amazing. Then I've got To Bleed a Crystal Bloom, one of my favorite series. And this was a gift by Jess. And the whole rest of the series, I think she's read the first one or two books in the series. I can't remember, but she has to catch up. Jess, catch up. But this is To Snap a Silver Stem and To Flame a Wild Flower. Loved all of them. The second book is my favorite in the whole series. Then I have Trials of the Sun Queen. I keep talking about wanting to read this book, but I keep not reading it. On the other side of this plant, this unbreakable plant, it won't let me kill it, which is really very sweet of it. One of my favorite covers of all time is Morning Glory Milking Farm. I am obsessed with this cover. She's also wearing like one of my favorite colors. Like I love like the salmon-y color. I just love it. It's honestly clinch cover perfection. I love it. I love it so much. I need to display it, but I go through phases for what I display. So then I've got A Fate of Wrath and Flames. I haven't read that yet. I think it's about elves. And then I've got my Guild series by Raven Kennedy. Loved the first 4 books. Can't seem to get through Gold. So we'll see what that happens. And then I have Poison Study. I bought this when I went shopping with Jess. I hear it's really good. It's had a recent resurgence. I've seen some people reading it again recently. And I was told by the shopkeepers there that at this used bookstore we went to that I had to read this if I liked fantasy romance. And then I think Jess bought a copy too. So we both bought a copy. And then I've got my Zodiac Academy series. I've got the first 6 books. I've read the first 5. I still need to read book 6. Then I have Belladonna. This was gifted to me by Jess. This book was good. I don't see myself continuing in the series, but the cover is absolutely stunning, and it was an enjoyable book. If you like Gothic books and you like YA, and you like the romantic Gothic thing, go for it. I like romantic Gothic. I'm not a huge fan usually of YA. And then I have Amanda Boucher's Promise of Fire series right here. I love this series. Well, I love the first 2 books. I DNF'd the 3rd book. I don't like the trope that the 2nd book ends with, so I did not continue. And then some books that I want to pick up. So Slaying the Shifter Prince, North Queen, Nightshade. I keep softy and effing Court of the Vampire Queen because once you read all the smut in the first novella, it feels like you just can't continue. I've tried twice. Neon Gods. Oh, there goes a candle. Neon Gods, I've also softy and effed by Katie Robert. Usually a big fan of Katie Robert, but I guess not everything. Where's Desperate Measures? Speaking of, oh, that's all the way on the bottom. Okay, on the 3rd fantasy romance shelf, move this plant over here. I've got Lore Olympus, which I haven't read yet. X-Hex, just Add Air. Just a bunch of books. None of which I've read. Sad. And then I have read A Heart of Blood and Ashes. I have not read the 2nd book, but that was really good. And then I've got my Ice Planet Barbarian books, just 2 so far. I've read the first maybe 7 books in the series. Oh. I need to water that. And then I've got Fortune is Sworn right here. I've read the first 2 books, haven't continued on. Slaying the Vampire Conqueror and Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent, both of which I've read. I love Daughter of No Worlds, so that's why I still have it. I also love the cover. I DNF'd the 2nd book. And then I've got Hollow Heathens, which I really want to pick up because it's supposed to be witchy and small town and just a fun time. And then right over here, I've got a bunch of my paranormal romance. So these are all my J.R. Ward books over there in this corner, and then the rest is all Sherilyn Kenyon. I think I like the Sherilyn Kenyon series more, the Dark Hunter series, but I still want to continue with both. And then down here on the bottom, I've got my contemporary romance, so The Ritual. That's a really good book. I have Desperate Measures here by Katie Robert. I hate having it like so far away from everything else because I adore that cover, and it's actually one of my favorite romance books of all time. But it's down here because this is where the contemporary romance books are. So, and it is technically like a mafia romance. I love that series. Super, super spicy series. I would say that series is definitely like slump proof. If you're looking to get out of a reading slump and you like yourself some smutty smut, but it's definitely like a slump proof series. I really enjoyed these 2 Tessa Bailey books, It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker. They're a lot of fun. They're probably the only... No, there's one other. I liked, oh, I can't remember. There's been like one other book that I've really liked. I think it was a Talia Hibbert book that I really enjoyed that was a contemporary romance. But other than that, contemporary romance, not usually my thing unless it's like dark. So, the rest I have not read. I do need to read The Butcher and the Blackbird because I keep hearing good things. I know Maggie really liked it. And then I have some random classics over here that are just kind of thrown down there. And a gothic, I don't know, historical fiction book by Kate Morton. Over here, I've got a lot of like the fairy tale retelling type of books. So I've got Spinning Silver, which I really enjoyed. The Book of Gothel is I would say it's more of like a Mother Gothel retelling as opposed to a Rapunzel retelling. And it's more like a historical reimagining. of how she came to be and how villainous is she really, you know what I'm saying? And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just beautiful. I also have the Bear and the Nightingale series, the Winternight trilogy. I've also read Uprooted, but everything else mostly is books that I haven't read, but I would really like to. Some of them aren't necessarily like fairy tale retellings, like Once and Future Witches, 10,000 Doors of January, Dragonflight. I kind of just put them there because they seem to fit the vibe for some reason. And then more of the same vibe on the second shelf, and also like a lot of decorations. So I've got all of my Juliette Marillier right here, which I love Juliette Marillier. I've read Dreamer's Pool, which is probably my favorite cover, possibly one of my favorite covers of all time. It's just stunning. Tower of Thorns right here is the second book in the series, and I just have the mass market paperback, and then I do have Den of Wolves, which is the third book. And then over here I have Daughter of the Forest, which it's one of my favorite books of all time, and then the second and third book in that series are right here. So I have all different sizes of those. Wildwood Dancing is also a different size, a little bit to its counterpart. Those are kind of like in a duology, but they're more like, they're not like a chronological duology. I think they're just more like they're paired together. But yeah, getting Juliette Marillier books in a series in the same sizes is actually very difficult. And then I have a little felted playhouse that the boys play with sometimes. Right now it's up on the shelf. And another pig doll. And then over here I have some of my favorite books. These are all very cozy fantasy vibes. Sword Heart, loved. Legends and Lattes. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches was one of my favorite books last year. Just loved it. I think it was like my second favorite book. And then I have some books that I really want to get to, like Half a Soul and The Last Unicorn, as well as the sequel to Legends and Lattes, Bookshops and Bone Dust. I've got The Hobbit, which is more of my readable version of that book. Definitely cozy fantasy. And then right here I have some more favorites. I've got Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, as well as its sequel. This was my #1 favorite book last year. Cursed Cocktails, another favorite of mine. I've got all of my T. Kingfisher, or at least a lot of my T. Kingfisher is all right there. I guess Sword Heart's not over there for some reason. I'm not really sure how that worked out. That just apparently happened. And then I've got my Sean McGuire Wayward Children series over here, which I absolutely adore. And then we're getting down to the horror and thriller hardcovers. So these are all the hardcovers of my horror and thriller books that I have. That's just the shelf they fit, and I like to keep them all together. So some of these books I've adored, like The Last Housewife and Mexican Gothic. Those are both 5-star all-time favorites. Ninth House, adored. The Writing Retreat, adored. Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, adored. Slewfoot, I really enjoyed. Bunny. Enjoyed is a weird word for it. It's probably one of my favorite books of the year, but I have I don't know how to describe my feelings on that one. And then some books I really want to get to, like Hellbent, the sequel to Ninth House. I'd really like to get to In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I'd love to get to The Year of the Witching. So, and then some more Riley Sager books I haven't gotten to yet. The Only One Left and The Last Time I Lied. Okay, so finally I've got my sci-fi shelves. I've got 2 sci-fi shelves. So over here I've got Leviathan Wakes, Caliban's War, basically the first 4 books in the Expanse series. I've read the first 3, and I think I really want to read Cibola Byrne for the Sci-Fi Readathon that actually just got announced. I'm really excited about it, and I'll have that information linked down below. It's being hosted by the Roomies Digest. And I have Africa Risen. I haven't finished that, but I put it down, but I really want to finish it. It's a collection of short stories from the African diaspora, and they're all sci-fi speculative leaning. This Is How You Lose the Time War is one of my favorite sci-fi books. Love that one. It's a little bit weird. So is How High We Go in the Dark, both weird and also really sad. This one's really sad, but I loved it. It was gifted to me by Daphne. So thank you so much, Daphne. A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, also one of my favorite books of last year. And I want to try to finish The Long Way to the Small and Angry Planet. Some books on here that I'm dying to get to. Project Hail Mary. Empire of Silence by Christopher Rucchio. I've heard nothing but amazing things about that one. And finally, some more sci-fi here. Just kind of like, dude, these are just not even organized at all. Like, I don't even know. They're not organized. But I've got To Sleep in the Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini, which is something that I would like to read this month as well. Actually, the audiobook for this just came in from my library, so I think I'm actually picking it up very soon. And then Shards of Earth by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I read Children of Time by him, which was right here. And that book was like a 4-star, but I felt like it was just, I was too dumb for it. So there was also Giant Spiders. So I'm not finishing that series. So I figured let's try Shards of Earth because I think it might be more, yes, I think it's still going to be really smart, but I think there's not going to be giant spiders. So I guess those should probably go together. Also, Gideon the Ninth is another one I'd like to get to. It is queer. There's necromancers in space. And then I have some Nnedi Okorafor books. I've got the Binti trilogy here. I've read the first book in this, but I'd like to pick up book 2 and 3. So I just would probably reread the first novella. Then I would just read all 3 novellas together as like one book.
Hi.
And then I have Brandon Sanderson, the first 2 books in his YA sci-fi series, Skyward. I loved Skyward. I read it in like 2 days. But I think I need to reread that before I get onto Starsight. Okay, so there you have it. Those are all of the books that I have on these bookshelves here. If you guys stick around, please leave me a stack of books emoji in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. This was a long video. This was a lot to film. I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to get done before my kids lost their patience, and it looks like we are there. So it's time for me to go do some mom things, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life.
Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I